Good evening, and I hope you've made it over here. We might just give it a minute or two. As you might have seen, there was a problem on the Team Living Your Dream YouTube channel. Google, in their wisdom, have suspended my account. Yay! Absolutely no idea why. But in the few minutes I had to sort it was much easier to jump in over here. So I hope you are able to make it over here and join me. If not, no worries, it will be on a replay that I will send out tomorrow. So what are we talking about tonight on Team Living Your Dream? We're going to talk about, are you making this critical attitude mistake? Okay. I'm Emma Triplett from Team Living Your Dream, and welcome to my Sunday night broadcast and the Hangout that's a regular at this time on Sunday. And we normally take a different subject every week that is to do with how you go about changing your life and living your dream. Change comes from within. And so we talk a lot about the internal skills needed. So tonight is, are you making this critical attitude mistake? And I want to talk about the importance of positive thinking. Of course, positive thinking isn't exactly breaking news. You know, there are hundreds of, if not thousands, of self-help books about positive thinking, and I'm sure you've probably heard of some of them. The Law of Attraction and The Secret, you know, very famous one, that is all about how you think about things. So absolutely, without a doubt, genuine positive thinking makes life much easier, and it helps you to cope with whatever life chucks at you. You know, all through history, there's lots of sayings and old wives' tales about positive thinking. You know, every cloud has a silver lining is one that jumps to mind. You know, look for the positive in things. But what I've found as a coach and a therapist is a lot of people believe that they're a positive thinker, and their life is still in crisis. And things never seem to happen the way they want it. So what is going wrong? Well, if that's you, you know, if you think, well, I'm a glass half full person, but, or, you know, I am a positive thinker, but perhaps you are making this crucial mistake. And I'm going to explain the brain science behind what's going on behind the scenes and why this is a mistake and what's actually going on in your mind when you make this mistake. And if I tell you, say a statement like, I am a positive thinker, but, there is no but in positive thinking. That is negative thinking. The statement after I am a positive thinking, but, will trump the I am a positive thinker. You know, that is what you're really thinking. And actually, when you use this statement, you know, this word, or when you follow up a positive statement with contradict it with a negative one, that's actually exposing what is going on in your subconscious mind. And it will always take precedence over the positive part of the statement. I mean, just saying I'm a positive thinker actually isn't really saying anything. It's probably just saying what you would like to be like, especially if you add a negative statement on the end. But it's crucially, it's that negative part of the statement which is in control and is showing what is really going on in your subconscious mind. And what's really going on in your subconscious mind is what is going to happen in your life. Your brain, actually, what is going to happen is your brain is going to get confused about what you are wanting it to do. If you're giving it a positive and a negative statement, your brain's going to get confused, and it is going to err on the side of caution, and it's going to go to the negative, and it will do nothing. So if you want to know which part of your brain is really in control, you need to listen very carefully. You need to be aware of the language you're using. Having that self-awareness. And some people say, well, of course I know what I'm saying. Well, a lot of our language is coming from this subconscious part of our brain, and we'll tell you which part is in control. Okay, so you think, okay, well, what do I mean by what part is in control? We just got a brain, haven't we? It's my mind, it's brain. Well, it's split up into different parts. You've got your conscious brain, which is actually the bit here that we refer to as the prefrontal cortex, or the left prefrontal cortex is the important bit here. And this is the bit that we interact with the world with. It's the bit that we do the conscious thinking with. And it can only retain sort of 5 or 7 pieces of information at a time, plus or minus 2. So actually it's a very, very small part of your brain. If you it's a tiny weeny piece of the whole. It's the bit at the top of the iceberg. You have the old iceberg analogy where everything is going on and underneath. Your conscious brain is only the tip at the top, okay? But it's the bit that you consciously think with, the bit you listen to, your hearing, and the bit that interacts with the world. So the thinking bit, I guess. And then you've got your subconscious brain. Now your subconscious brain is split into 2 parts. You've got your intellect, which is your clever bit, where the boffins are. That's the bit that knows everything about you. It knows everything you've forgotten. It knows all the stuff you've learnt. It's where your memory is stored in your subconscious in several parts of your brain, but it's the bit that where you've learnt skills. That's the bit where it is stored in your intellect. It's also the bit that works out what to do. We don't actually share the intellect with other animals to the extent it's 80% of our brain. It's a massive part of our brain. It's the bit that set us aside as humans and made us so successful as a species. It's why we drive around in cars and have mobile phones and invent computers, and why dogs and dolphins haven't done that. Other animals do have a certain amount of intellect. Some of them do, some more than others, but it's very much a human thing. But what we do share with animals is this primitive part of your brain. Now this is the bit where the fight or flight mechanism is, and it's responsible for our automatic reactions to danger, crisis, or emergency. It's the bit that back in our intellect is more concerned with evolution and working out solutions. Your primitive brain is involved with survival and would have kept us alive. And so if you were back in primitive times and you heard a rustle in the bushes around you or something, you're going to automatically assume that that's something dangerous, and then you'll take off before finding out whether it's dangerous or safe, whether it was a saber-toothed tiger or a mouse. You're going to get out of there and take action before you find out actually what that is, because the world was a dangerous place. To use a bit of an analogy about sort of our conscious and this subconscious part of our brain, if you had an elephant, okay, a massive elephant, and the elephant's Mahout, who supposedly is in control, and you see these majestic animals that are so strong and powerful, and then there's this little man on the top who's telling it what to do, and the elephant is supposedly taking instruction from this little man. Now we know that the guy on top is not more powerful than the elephant, okay, but the elephant chooses to go along with what the Mahout is telling it on a day-to-day basis. When they're working in synergy, they are working to a common goal, to a common solution. Okay? And they will work together to achieve whatever it is they've set out to achieve, with the Mahout supposedly or seemingly in control. Now, what if something came along to frighten the elephant? Do you think the Mahout is going to be in control then? Do you think it's going to listen to it? Probably not. You know, if something happens that frightens the elephant is going to take off regardless of what this little man on the top is telling it to do. And our brain is a little bit like that with our conscious brain. Our conscious brain is that little Mahout on the top, you know, the bit on the top of the iceberg, making the decisions of what to do. Now, when that's working with our intellect, everything is working in synergy and it's working towards a common goal, and everything's going in the same direction. But the moment this other part of your brain, this primitive part of your brain, gets frightened for some reason, it takes off, takes complete control, and does whatever it thinks it's best to keep you safe. Okay? And that's the job of the primitive brain. So it stands to reason, and when you liken it to the analogy of this elephant, the primitive part of your brain takes precedence when it thinks it's danger. It takes control. And that's what's calling the shots. So it doesn't matter what your conscious brain is saying, if this primitive part of your brain, the bit that's calling the statement after the but, is in control, that's what will happen, whether you like it or not. And your primitive part of the brain only steps in, just like the elephant taking control, when it thinks that there is some sort of emergency crisis or danger. So why would it think that on a day-to-day basis? You know, why would it take control if you're thinking about, well, I am a positive person, but? Well, you tell it there is by how you're thinking, by the negative thinking. You know, our brain is still programmed to behave in the same way as it did in those primitive times, but it doesn't know the difference between a bill arriving, facing redundancy, an argument, and a saber-toothed tiger. It hasn't got a clue what the difference is. It just knows, it picks up on the way you're thinking. And when you think it's this negative thinking, it's negative forecasting of the future or negative introspecting of the past, which is converted into anxiety. And we store this anxiety up, and we give it the term a stress bucket. We store it up in what we call a stress bucket. And the more and more negative thinking we're doing, what we're doing is we're actually piling anxiety into this stress bucket, and it fills up and fills up and fills up. And it gets to a certain level where it sets off different alert levels. So if your stress bucket is empty, if you're not thinking in a negative way at all, if you're genuinely a positive thinker and you're not sticking stuff in this stress bucket, you might be on a green alert or no alert at all. So your brain thinks, well, life is safe. We can make changes. We can do something different because it's nice and safe. But as you start negative thinking and you start negatively forecasting, you start piling in this negativity, and which is converted to anxiety, and it might hit an amber level. And your primitive brain wakes up and goes, oh, hang on, we've got some sort of emergency coming along here. And as it does, it steps in and it gets you searching for other negatives, like doing a risk assessment, if you ever have to do one of those at work. You know, it starts searching for everything else that could be a danger. And when it starts doing that, you start piling things even faster, to the moment it hits the fill level or red alert. And that's when this primitive brain steps in, takes control and goes, no way, Jose, we are not doing that. We need to stay safe. We need to get back in our cave. We need to do whatever we did yesterday, because if we did that yesterday, must be safe. We're still here. So we need to do that again. So it will actively stop you doing anything different. It wants you to keep doing the same old things again. And if you're doing the same old thing again and again and again, you're going to get the same results. Okay? So I am a positive thinker, but it's hard when other people don't do what they say they're going to. you're using that negativity, but just to disassociate yourself from the blame, you're finding other things or other people to blame. Okay. I do think positively, but things always seem to go wrong for me. You know, that self-pity, again, is blame. You're blaming other things. I am a positive person, but I could never do that because, again, it's blame. It's putting the responsibility on something or somebody else. People who are genuinely positive and successful, they don't do that. They take responsibility for themselves and for their actions, and they take action. And that's the difference. Because your primitive brain will stop you taking action. So if you're thinking negative, you're putting stuff in your stress bucket, your primitive brain steps in and that stops you taking action because it doesn't want you to do anything different. But if you're a genuine positive thinker, your conscious brain is aligned with the Mahout, your conscious brain, the Mahout is aligned with your intellect, which works out what to do, and it takes action. Let's take the example of, let's suppose for a moment you're fed up with your job, and perhaps not just your job. Let's suppose it's your whole career. You know, you've got stuck, you've got trapped like I did in a career, and you want to get out. You need or you want to make changes in your life. You're miserable and you're unhappy. Now, if your conscious brain thinks, "Oh, I'm really fed up with this. I need to make some changes in my life. I've got to find something else to do. I've got to change career. I'm really fed up." Okay. Now, if that's in line with your intellect listens to you. Now, this is the boffins. These are the people that work out what to do. It's your clever part of your brain. Okay, and it's the inventive, it's the creative part of your brain as well. So your left and right hemisphere of your higher cortex. So you've got your creative part and your logical part, and they work to find solutions. And they can think in a creative way that you perhaps haven't thought of before. So your conscious brain is in line with your intellect, and the conversation goes on in your head of, you know, your conscious brain goes, right, I need to make some changes. I'm really fed up with this. I've got to do something. Your intellect goes, okay, so what do we want to do instead? How can I make this happen? Who can help me? What do I need to do? What do I need to learn? Where do I start? Where can I start some research? Who should I talk to? I need to study for qualifications. How long is that going to take? What's my plan? Let's do it. And it starts to take action, whatever that small step is, getting on the internet, doing some research, talking to somebody, whatever it is, it works out what to do and it takes action. But if the same scenario is going on and you have a negative mind, you're not a genuine positive thinker, you have this but going on, your conscious brain goes, I'm really fed up with this, I need to get out, I can't, this is causing me so much stress, I don't want to carry on. Your primitive brain steps in and goes, okay, but you can't just leave because you've got bills to pay, you've got responsibilities, you've got the mortgage. You can't manage unless you're on that same salary. You know, how am I going to, you can't just change career and jump from salary that you're on at the moment into another career with the same salary. That's not going to happen, and you can't possibly pay the bills and commitments and keep the same lifestyle with less money. You have to keep that same money. And if you can't pay the bills, you might lose the house. And what if your wife or your husband leaves you, or you can't buy the children new shoes, or you can't buy them their latest clothing, or do this or that with them? And what if there's no money at all? What if you've changed career and you can't get a job? There's no jobs out there. You know, no, better to stay where you are until something comes up. Something will come up. Nothing is going to come up. It's not going to. There's no opportunity. It's not going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, I've got this perfect job for you where you can just jump in at the same salary and the same commitments, and you can pay for everything. Your life is just going to get better. Here we are. Here we go. That isn't going to happen because your primitive brain is stopping you. And even if it did, even if somebody came along with this perfect job, if your primitive brain is in control, it will find reasons not to. It'll do that risk assessment. It'll imagine everything that can possibly go wrong, and it will stop you doing it. I go, well, this isn't real. You know, it will find something that to stop you doing it, because if previously you've been piling in this stuff into your stress bucket and it's up here somewhere, immediately it's going to go, oh no, can't do that, that's way too risky. Keep doing what you're doing. And you'll keep doing the same things. And if you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results. As we're back to that Einstein's theory of insanity that I've talked about previously. You know, Einstein's theory of insanity is doing the same things over and over again, but expecting different results. You know, it's not going to happen. You need to do something different. But if your primitive brain, this negative brain, the bit that thinks with the butt, ironic with your butt, but the bit that thinks you can't because, that's going to keep you doing exactly the same thing over and over again. And you know what? When you do step outside your comfort zone and you make that leap, your intellect loves it. It will grab hold of it and it will keep you safe. It's not going to let you completely fall. It will work out how. But you have to go with it and trust it rather than let this primitive brain step in and do the same thing. Because it will just keep you locked in the same situation, being miserable, keeping you locked in finding all the fault, finding all the problems. And it leads to anxiety and depression and stress. Stress comes from negative thinking. You know, the difference between motivation and stress. Somebody who's highly motivated looks at their list of to-dos perhaps of the day, or a massive target or something they've got to do, and they go, and they will think to themselves with their intellect, with their conscious brain and their intellect, right, that's a hell of a lot to do today. How am I going to achieve this? Let's start by working it out. And that person's motivated. The same person or the same situation and a different person thinking in a different way, or the same person on a different day, will look at the same list or the same goal they've got to achieve that day, and they go, oh, that's impossible. I'll never get that done. And they don't take action. This person takes action. This person doesn't. So that's why it is so important that your brains are aligned, and that when you think in the terms of being a genuine positive thinker, that you don't have all these caveats on it, that this is not going to happen, because when you give your brain a positive instruction of what you want, it will work out how to do it. The primitive brain will step in and stop you doing it, so nothing changes. Yeah. And what's more is, when you think of it in a positive terms, and you've given your intellectual brain that positive instruction to do something, it changes the parameters in your brain. So it suddenly starts filtering in everything that you need to know, or everything that might be relevant, and it brings your conscious brain to the attention of whatever that thing is. So it's when you're thinking with your intellect and aligned with your conscious brain that opportunities do seem to knock at your door, because you notice them and you go, hey, yeah, that could work, and you start thinking it through in a positive way, rather than the primitive brain opening the door and seeing nothing there because they're completely closed and shut down to it. So it's only when you become a genuine positive thinker, without the caveats of it can't because, or whatever reason, that things do start falling into place and life becomes easier, because you start looking at things from a different perspective and in a different way that finds the positives and works out what you can do instead of shutting you down into what you can't do. The but part of that statement, the becauses and the blame and the not taking responsibility, the finding excuses, is all self-sabotage. It is all overanalyzing from your imagination to actively stopping you doing anything about your situation, stopping you taking action. So you're just getting the same results again and again and again. If you want to learn more about how to change your thinking so that you can become a genuine positive thinker, attract opportunities to you so that you can take action. Anything you want to change or achieve in life, you have to take action. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And nobody else can stop you when that's what you've decided to do, because you will find a way. You have to think in the right way to make that happen. So if you want to learn more about that, and you've enjoyed this Sunday Night Hangover, even it did end up on a different channel than we started on, please subscribe, tune in next week. I will probably keep it on this channel and move everything over if that's going to happen again right at the start. There will be links in the show notes in a few moments, because obviously I had to jump over in a hurry, so I haven't set it up. But I will put the links there into the website, which is Team Living Your Dream, and there's got lots of information on my blog, and what I write about is how to change your life so that you are living your life on your terms, how you want to be, not fitting yourself into somebody else's dream. You know, if you're not living your own dream, if you're not working towards your own dream, you're helping somebody else live their dream. Now, if that's what you choose to do, fine. But if you want to change your life so that you're living on your terms and you're the best you can be, join my site, join my mailing list at Team Living Your Dream, become part of the team. There you will find links on there, and I will help you do that. So until next week, thank you very much for tuning in or watching the replay if that's what you're doing. This is every Sunday night at the same time, which is it's 8 o'clock here in Central European Summertime, CEST. It's 7 o'clock British Summertime, and it's 2 o'clock over in America, Pacific Daylight Time, is when it starts. Every week on Sunday. Next week, I'm actually going to be talking about the lessons that I learned in climbing up that mountain of success. You know, I spent a long time going around at the bottom, getting so high and then going back down again, and actually learn how to climb the levels of success. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that. So please subscribe, tune in next week. I will look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.